Well, stopped raining. It was raining this morning, rained all weekend, so it's kind of wet. So I'm going to stay on this side of the woods a little bit drier and clean up some of this, block some of that up, and maybe start working on that top right there. You know, got to do it all, so it doesn't really matter where you start. My son and I were out here, I guess, Thursday, and got most of this one here cleaned up. Gonna run that saw again, Homelite. How about a bottom view? Look how big that clutch is. And look at all that space around there. You know, there's good news and bad news about that, but in my mind, mostly good. I'm going to look for a conventional handle, get rid of this full wrap at some point. But I put a sharpening on the chain. It was getting kind of dull. And see how it works. Just cutting up this hard maple. That's all knot. You got to think about that stuff. That's just all knots. And the key is to try to do that without having all that dirt ruin a perfectly good sharpening. So that's going to be the trick, right? And that stuff over there is easy. I'll just start blocking it over there and just work my way right back. Might even have a cookie cutter spot over there. Of course, I got nothing that I want to do that with. Oh my God, look at that. You can probably see it through the trees, but there's just a little deer going up straight ahead. See if I can zoom up on it. Of course, this place is just full of deer. Not exactly something special. He's right there. I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up, but he's moving. Going to the field. See if I can move myself a little bit. Get a little bit different angle. Just stand there looking at me, looking at it. You can see his butt right there. See it? Just flicked his tail at you. Right in the center of the screen. But anyway, chainsaws. Out here long enough, your eye kind of picks that stuff up, you know. I'll lean it out just a little bit. It's a hot day. Still amazes me on how well that thing idles. When you figure how little I've done to this saw, that's truly amazing. So I raised the idle screw, I don't know, 1/16 of a turn, and I gave both the high speed and the low speed about 1/8 of a turn. Let's see if that does anything. I'm curious if I can start it without high idle. Nope. Yes, I can. go break this up some. I had a person complain that I'm not doing enough train videos. Imagine that. That's from on my other channel. I can guarantee you it wasn't from this channel. But anyway, I gotta go bust this stuff up a little bit. If it will. Go get a stress test and start dealing with the next part of my medical world. They're not all going to go that easy. Trust me on that. But I'll take them when they do. There you go. That's a big old knot. Big old knot. Definitely not going to be an easy one. That might be another saw job. This is what hard maple is. Of course, this is exactly what the doctor told me I'm not supposed to be doing. Light splitting operations is fine, but when I got to get my ass into it, that's supposed to be a no-no. Problem is, I've just done this all my life. So the idea of not doing it is a little hard for me to deal with. So we persevere. And I think that begs the question over and over and over again for me is, how do you judge whether a saw is a good saw? And, you know, everyone has their own metrics, and even I do, depending on what the task at hand is. But for doing firewood and stuff like that, that's a beautiful saw. It's unique, it's old. I made it run. It was headed to the scrap pile because someone gave up on it, and we got it to run, oil, and now it cuts beautifully. It's got quite a bit more life in it. So, good saw. So that's a nice saw for me right there, right now. You know, it's vintage, it's oddball, Homelite, historical. It's really not that heavy for how much power it has. It's really not bad at all, especially for its age, right? And I blocked up enough for probably 2 loads on the Kubota. I guess the point for me is, you get a little bit older, the metrics about what a good saw is kind of change. And an old saw like that can produce an awful lot of firewood and a lot of smiles if you just let it. But, you know, in this day and age where everybody's trying to sell something or convince people they're smart, it's got to be a ported saw, or it's got to be something that's current, that's saleable. That's what gets clicks. If you're a steel person, you'll never appreciate a saw like that. Just like if you're a husky person, you'll never appreciate a still. And all those saws, all of them are good for somebody, somewhere, in some situation. And the benefit of being retired and old like I am, I can go back and open up the bandwidth a little bit and start enjoying saws that maybe 10 years ago, when hustle and bustle was a priority, it would never cross my mind. But having that saw beating the odds the way it is, running as good as it is a very pleasant saw to run. I'm loving it. It's a great saw. Am I going to go logging with that saw? Probably not. My 585 is a better saw for that. Even my 572 hot rods. But for doing stuff like this, right now it's the best saw I got, because it's the one making me smile. Tomorrow it might be 585, it might be a 285. I want to show you some of that. I got that on the bench right now, the 285. I got a top end and a set of cases. I got the cases sitting in diesel right now. I'm cleaning it up so I can start building up a running 285, and that will probably put that one in the retirement home once I'm done. But I enjoy them all. And my advice to you is to chill a little bit on the image and open up your heart to some of these other saws, because they can be a lot of fun, especially when you have time in them. Especially a saw like that, where basically it was headed to the scrap heap. We had given up on it, and I almost convinced myself, or almost let myself get convinced to give up on that saw and throw it away. But I am so glad I didn't. You know, of course, that's part of the fun, beating the odds. So this is where I'm at on projects. I got these set of cases from some saw salvage place up in Vermont, and it turns pretty free. A little noisy, but you know, that's what happens when they sit forever. You know, they're very, very smooth, even though they're a little noisy. And what'll happen is when I run it, it'll smooth right out. They're very tight. There's no slop in the bearing at all. There's no slop in the connecting rod, so nothing wrong with that. I'm still looking for a muffler for my 572 right there. I've been sitting on that for a while. I've got a perfectly good one, but I don't want to ruin it because I'm going to have to drill it out for that helicoiled cylinder, right? But anyway, this is the 285 got from Bob, and it's the one that has a horrible case crack. I think I showed that in one of the other videos where basically it's just a hole right up in there, and on the flywheel right there. And the cylinder has a bunch of the fins broke out. So I got another cylinder somewhere. I don't know if that's it. Oh, here it is. Got a cylinder. It's all right, you know. But check out the port layout and arrangement. That should look pretty familiar. And I'm going to have to hone it a little bit. It's not as bad as it looks in the picture, is my guess. But you've seen that port layout all the way up through steel 660s, you know. And of course, Husky had that in the 70s. Here's John's Thread. It's an old 80 from the 70s, so they had a similar arrangement. But since they didn't rev quite as high, they had less cross-sectional area in the transfers. Sideshow. I've got a piston for a 272, and Bob's giving me a lot of grief because I need to get that on there. Here's another piston for a 285. Look at that. I was going to use the stock one, but if I've got this, what the heck, I'll use that one. Filter. Look at this. This is for the John Thread. And, oh, that's the drum. I got a couple myself. I got these for the 285 and L77s and stuff like that. eBay. Lots of junk. Different ignition system for it. So I really have enough. I think I'm waiting for a gasket. I haven't decided yet, do I split the cases, but I don't know. The more I futz around with it, the less interested I am in doing that, because it looks like that bearing, they might be a little noisy now, but they look solid. Yeah, they're fine. You know, those people who try to argue against steel cage bearings. Then you look at these old saws, you know, that have been around for 40-something years and still have the bearings intact. Makes a point, I guess. So that's where we are in these.